Hello, good morning, good evening, good night. I am so excited to be back today. And we're a little bit late because we have a new baby daddy on board today. And that means that we had a baby had a little bit of other things that wanted to be involved with. So I'm excited to get ourselves started and let's go. So our guest on today is Brad Quake Riddell, and he was a coach for me on my MMA fight last year, 2019 actually now. So I'm excited to get his perspectives in our 21st century jobs on today. So let's get Brad on the screen. Hey, Brad.
Hello. Sorry for being late. My fault.
You're fine. You've got a newborn baby, so I'm sure you got some priorities going on. So I knew there was going to be something else. So is everything going well with you in that space? Congratulations.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm enjoying it so far. It's definitely a lot harder for the woman than the men. Like the amount of sleep you guys get is not much, and you operate on it. It's crazy. Very impressive.
Yeah, so that's a great big change. Well, that kind of ties in with what we're doing today. It's all about challenge and change and accountability. So I'm sure that's a big change in your life that probably has impacted you more so than all the other things that you might have been able to relate to.
Yeah, it was a huge change. I'm not even sure if it's like fully sunk in yet, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Like sometimes I'm driving home and I sort of forget. I'm like, oh, that's right, I got a kid at home. That's pretty cool. And then when you like hold them and see them, you're like, damn, very crazy. I made that.
I know.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. No, congratulations in that space. So today, like I just explained a bit earlier, I think my journey with MMA and with like Want to Warrior changed my life completely and changed my perspective on myself and like what growth means, what challenge means. And I think for me, the thing that challenged me the most was I think I used to see fighting as this kind of like a different thing compared to what I like, this kind of like the idea of confidence, the idea of humbleness, the idea of like accountability. And whenever I used to think fighters, I used to think like, oh, this bravo and this like way of being.
Yeah.
But whenever I was in like city kickboxing, it just changed my opinion so much. Like you were all so humble, and so obviously you had that fighting side to you, but you were all very like just humble and not like this bravo, this way of being wasn't the same. Do you think it's like what do you think about that, and like with like challenge, with like confidence and accountability? What do you think about like those spaces?
Well, I definitely think there probably is some gyms with that sort of like bravado in there, and it would be very intimidating to go into some of those gyms for the first time and try to join up. But I guess we're lucky that the way we are is just because it like trickled down from the top, from like Eugene and stuff like that, and our other coaches, they were very humble and very quiet and very respectful people, and it sort of just you sort of, I can't even remember the saying, but you sort of act like the people the three people you hang around the most, and I guess we hang around them every day, twice a day. So it trickles off on us, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, I love it. I totally did it, but that was my biggest takeaway from the whole journey itself. And I remember sitting beside you like the week before our fight, and you kind of said, I was saying like, how do I know what the other person's going to do? Like, how can I prepare for that? And you said to me, you can't. Like, it's not about them, it's about you. And I think that really comes back to that accountability piece. Is like, as a fighter, you really do have to like think about yourself. You can train and you can understand the other person. You can kind of like see about the chess piece. But your chess piece is the most important part because you can control that. Like, what's your
Well, like I figure at my level, all of us train hard. Like whether it's us at City Kickboxing or someone over at TriStar Gym in Canada, like at that level, everybody trains hard. So the only thing that makes you better is like, I guess, holding yourself accountable and just really focusing on what you're doing in there. Like you obviously have to be wary of them, but I just say I'm cautious of what they can do, but I'm quietly confident in myself. You know what I mean? So yes, they can hurt me, but I just stick to my game plan and have my mental attitude in the right place before I fight, and then like make sure I just prepared as much as I could to the best of my ability. And it's just all on me. All those fights pretty much at that level are just won on the night, because we all get fit, we all get strong and blah blah blah, make weight, and then it's just whoever turns up that night in the cage generally wins.
And I think that's kind of really relates to like that challenge piece of like an accountability of what's going on inside of your own head, that mental game. And I think that was what another takeaway from my journey with you and with like the team was, it was your head game as well as like it was a mental game and the physical game. Huge. That's the big. That's why I really, really wanted to bring like you on and like talk about fighting is. Because people kind of say, like, I talk about neuroscience and then I talk about being in the cage and like I got concussion after my fight. And people will be like neuroscience and concussion, they don't really, they go hand in hand. It's like, it's like a big...
crazy.
Yeah, so I think that kind of ties into our first question. I'll put the first question up is like how did your school life prepare you for your future, like professionally and personally? So first of all, starting with like, there's Bert in the background.
Reckons he probably sees someone, but
like it kind of relating back to like how you got to where you are. What did school life or anywhere in that space prepare you for what you got to?
I guess like school itself, academically, probably not. Maybe like some of the teachers, like the way they presented themselves and stuff like that, it might have like left a lasting impression on me, like a few of them. I probably got the most skills I probably got for my current career from my time at school was like playing rugby with camaraderie and stuff like that, and like really committing to your friends, because I guess that's carried over to now. And MMA, even though it's like an individual sport, like our teams had a huge amount of success, and so maybe that is like a contributing factor from school. But subject wise and academic wise, like not particularly. Like I think there could have been some more useful things there for me that could have helped me narrow my life, but I haven't used too many of my my NCAA level skills, but I did get NCAA level 3, but I can't say I've used it. That's for sure.
I think as we were just talking before, it's such an important topic because, like you said, the reason why I'm doing this, like I just explained before I come on, is like I think it's like academics and the other side of things, like education. Now we're trying to see like the holistic person. It's not just if you're not achieving academically, you're a complete failure. And it's like the and I think that's what you bring to the table is like, if academics wasn't one of the places that you were maybe excelling in, like the other areas is what, it doesn't matter. Even if you haven't got that, you've still been successful in your own right, in your own space. And I think that's what I'm trying to bring to the table from these conversations is hearing, if it wasn't academics, you're saying about the teamwork and like those skills that actually you were able to bring those into schools from school as well.
Yeah, I definitely think you should go to school until, the law requires you to make the choice to leave. Like you guys, what is it, like 15 or something like that? You can leave school, but I feel like they're really stressed at school that if you don't finish it, almost in Christchurch, I kind of got this this vibe that if you didn't finish school, you're going to be like a bit of a drop kick. If you left at 15 or something like that, and I was like, shit, man, I need to finish school so that my life's better. And I feel like they also, hope I don't start ranting. I feel like they also push like random things that are really irrelevant, like like when I was really young, they told you like doing like after school road service, like the signs and stuff is going to help you later, and like a good school report's going to get you a job later in school. And whereas like none of it ever contributed to my jobs, not like just the UFC but all my other ones, right? It's just that initial first job that contributes to all your future jobs if you don't intend on going to university or pursuing your studies further.
Exactly. And I think that's like the journey that you take. So like I had a person on, maybe like it was a lady called Keisha McDonald, and she was talking about her son who wasn't achieving academically, but she was saying that she was so proud of him for having confidence in himself, and he wasn't putting his value into his academics. He was getting his value from his own being. And so I think that's what it is like we don't want people to get their value from academics. Like you say, if you're going on to university, you will have to get those academics and you will have to go forward. But that's not the only path that so many people take. And I think that's, it's like a big, big part of it.
Yeah, like one of my brothers, he was never gonna never wanted to finish school. He could have definitely finished school. He was smart as, but he just really liked trade work, like metal and woodwork and stuff like that. And then he went away, became a panel beater. He left school, and he's like doing really, really well now. I'm pretty sure he like subcontracts to like heaps of different panel beaters because he's like really good at what he does. But like at school at that time, he was in trouble all the time, so they weren't telling him that he was gonna like leave, be a panel beater, and do well. They were just like, you're mucking around at school. You're not really gonna get anywhere. You have to finish school. But yeah, it turned out better than most, I guess. I had a lot of friends that did degrees at university and never used them.
And then you're in debt for like what you actually are going for. And I think that, I think like it's not judging what different paths people take. And I think that's what I really wanted to like, because like people would say, what UFC fighter? What is that? Like what type of career path? Like it's not your traditional career path. And I think that's what it is there's so many new paths now that can come out, and so many new paths that are completely valid in their own right. And I think as teachers, it's really hard. The reason why I'm on this, it's more for my own self, like inquiring into what jobs, and then hopefully I might be able to share with other people as well. But I'm just curious as a teacher how we can actually, because I think for a teacher, it's easier if you're like, this is the job, this is the path. And then if we can kind of like go along that path, it's easier for us to kind of like see it. But if we're trying to help all these learners be whatever path whatever path suits them, it's so much harder to try and get all those paths together. So like I think that's trying to hear from other people's perspectives, and you're saying like teamwork was something that you learned through like the groups. That was like a good
sports stuff, I guess. Like the subjects that I did enjoy were like all pretty much outdoor pursuits or team involved things. But I think those kids that aren't really intending on doing something, at university or carrying on like that, they should be like, well, even at an earlier age, they should like really be encouraged to find what their interests are, and then they should start branching off that. In your like high school years, you should really develop something, especially if you really enjoy it. You should just stick with it, because in this day and age, you can make anything a job. I mean, YouTube's a job. You know what I mean? Like making videos, posting them online, and people liking that. That I got friends that get paid heaps for that.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell me that at school. I was watching YouTube. Yeah, I was watching YouTube at school, but I did not know that. And back then, probably if I started a YouTube channel, I'd be really rich, because that's before the hype. That was before YouTube became a thing. Now everyone's trying to be a YouTube or YouTuber, But yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think that's what we can't predict what those jobs are going to be. But like you say, I think if you can get people who are interested, it's the passions as well as, because sometimes you don't even know what your passions are at that age as well. Like it's like the whole point of us is trying to open them up to experiences towards what it could be, rather than limit them to the only thing.
Creative self, and see what comes of it, I guess.
Well, I think that kind of relates into like the next step is, what do you wish you were taught in school that would have helped you in your later life? Like what's something you think that could have been something that was put in in that space?
Okay, we'll go through academic and we'll go through physical or like sports. So I think wrestling should be implemented in schools all throughout New Zealand. Not just the ones, a couple in Auckland, because it's so popular in the rest of the world. I think even in Australia they do a little bit, but it like not for the fact, it's like for what it gives you, like the work ethic and like dedication to turn up to like something before school, go to school, and then turn up to practice again after school. Be disciplined with diets, and then wrestling matches are hard, nasty grinds. So it teaches you to like persevere and like not give up. And if you can like do that as well as your school stuff, I mean, that's teaching some, kids some crazy good life skills at an early age. And there's probably a lot of kids that don't play sport at school because nothing really appeals to them. Maybe they don't like team sports. Maybe they're like an individually driven person that just loves like the glory of themselves, which is perfectly fine, because I'm one of those people. So they could be wrestlers, they could go into that, and like opens up more scholarships and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, I wish wrestling was there when I was young, for sure. I would have definitely jumped on that. And academically, I guess I'm not sure if I would have done it then. But if I could go back and tell my younger self to do it, it would be stuff like taxes and like investments, and just like how to sort of save and invest your money wisely when you do get it. Because I didn't really feel like that was at school at the time. I know there was accounting later on, but at like sixth form or something like that in business management, but it really wasn't like practical. It just taught us how to run a small. They said we got to start our own business, but it was something stupid like making T-shirts and you sell them. And they said it was like, business management or business studies. But yeah, I think they should go really, a lot deeper into that and teach
Do
you
you
some.
know I've done 3 sessions so far, and all 3 of them have said that. All 3 of them have
Yeah,
referred to like that money management, financial literacy, understanding
yeah,
like the money side of things. Because like you say, we weren't taught it. But like, because I talked to my daddy about this because the 2 people said it. And like you said, would you taken it on in that time? Because like once you get money, you're just
yeah.
like go 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 go. But like we're looking back now as people who have been through that. Would your
Right.
younger self have taken that on board? Like, I definitely am curious about bringing it into education, but it's like developmentally, can you know that stuff at that age? Like it is.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So that would be the job of the parents and the teacher.
Mm.
And so I guess I'll be telling my kid that and trying to convince them where I messed up or didn't take a subject that could have turned out useful. It's your job to convince them that it's probably a wise thing to take that one.
Yeah.
It's going to be more practical in life.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is definitely important.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have probably done it when I was at school because I was pretty much avoiding those subjects. I was like doing everything outdoorsy and then French, English, and maths. My dad was like, keep doing English, keep doing maths, whatever after there, it's up to you. So I was like, cool. Yeah.
No, that's cool. And like that's 3 people who've been on, and 3 people have said the same thing about that area. I think because people are kind of involved in this too. And I think going back to what we were saying about like the education part of it is also it's important not to treat students who aren't successful academically as deviants. Like behavior and academics aren't linked, but many educators confuse those 2 realms. And I think that's so true. It's like behavior and academics. It doesn't mean that like just because you're not excelling in the academic side of things doesn't mean that you're going to be like really bad. Like you said about your brother or your friend, you said that he was told then that he wouldn't be successful in life because he wasn't doing this in his academics. And it's like, because I think that goes back to like that confidence, accountability, and challenging yourself. If you're constantly telling someone that they're not going to be a good person, that's quite a core thing to be attacking.
Especially in the developmental years. And then, these days there's a shit ton of other problems with like social media for kids that age. So if you're just like feeding them more negative stuff on top of maybe negative stuff they're getting on social media and stuff out of school, they're just like But like another example is I had a few friends in Christchurch that were terrible at school. Pretty sure they got kicked out of school, but they're millionaires now because they started businesses during the earthquakes because they're real canny. They're real good at like seeing opportunity and like hustling. And now they were like 24, 25-year-old millionaires. It's pretty cool.
It is. It's like, I think that's what, like you said, literally
like scaffolding and stuff.
Like any job could be a job now. Like that's what, like, I think that's what is like, because I've been thinking to myself when I'm teaching, I'm like, what am I actually teaching these kids? Like, what, like I can't know what next year's jobs are going to be, never mind what their future jobs are going to be. So it is like those skills that you're talking about, creativeness. And I think that really links into the last question of what 3 skills or qualities should be taught to help learners with their now and their future. So I think for me, like we're going back to the idea of like it's their future and their now that we're actually preparing them for. It's not like what we think is going to matter. It's like kind of like how can we make those both align? So I'm trying to like just ask people what they think 3 skills and qualities could be that we could be instilling in them and supporting them with.
It's hard. It's hard. I'd probably go with failing is not failure. You know what I mean? Like if you fail, try again. They should be encouraged that failure is just lessons. And that just because you failed once doesn't mean you like have to stop or you're dumb or something like that. It just means like you learn something and then now find like another or more developed or better way to do it. With like pretty much anyone can quote Thomas Edison with the light bulb, He failed so many times and he finally got it. I feel like that's a pretty important lesson because I feel like at school when I failed, like your whole day is definitely ruined if you get a test back and you haven't passed. You're like, and you feel like it's such a huge impact on your life. Whereas it doesn't mean shit. It's just a piece of paper. you know, with like a letter or a grade on it, and that your life isn't really impacted that badly. You can just go again, or, you know, study a bit harder or something. It's not that detrimental.
Or like the failing isn't failure.
Geez, another skill. I would. I feel. Yeah. I think they should teach a lot of those core disciplines through like sport, like what I was saying before, through wrestling, like perseverance, dedication, and discipline and stuff like that. Maybe for like kids that are, I know it's a little bit off the question, but like some kids just have that academically, you know, they'll persevere like I would in a wrestling match, you know. But those kids that are in the academic classroom might not be able to see it from that point of view, from like an academic point of view, to like persevere or something if they keep maybe failing or something like that. But whereas you might put them in, for instance, we'll stick with wrestling, in a wrestling match, but they will never give up, right? Until the like late last second, they'll just keep fighting. So maybe some of those kids or those people need to be taught those skills in a different way through like individual grinding sport. I mean, it could straighten out, the wrestling could definitely straighten out some naughty kids too. Make them do a U-turn, that's for sure.
I think go back. Like I think that idea that you said, what does perseverance look like for different people? Because people can persevere as long as they're interested in actually what it is.
Yeah.
So like I actually, that's what probably taught me the most is whenever we were training, I actually really wanted to know the next step. Like it's like whenever you really want to know, you can see someone doing something and you're not doing it yet. And I think like trying to get there, if you really want to get there, then you'll never give up, like you say. But that perseverance doesn't mean that it has to be everyone's doing sports and everyone's doing that, everyone's doing academics and everyone's doing that. What does the perseverance look like? That's
because there might be a kid in like, let's say in the math class, and he really wants to be a math teacher or something like that. So he's staring at his like motivation every day, right? The teacher, because they want to be like that. But the other kid that doesn't want a bar of soap to do with math, he doesn't really have anything to look at. You know what I mean? He just like kind of looking forward to lunchtime. Just going to school to eat lunch. So,
I really like that part. What does perseverance look like?
Because the kids can be worked. Like, I'm not saying kids should be drilled into the ground, but if you look in all the other countries in the world, because you know I've had a lot of experience training for a lot of different people and teaching a lot of different people, and as stoic as they are, like the Eastern Europeans and stuff, man, they're super disciplined. Whenever they came to train with us in Thailand, they're always disciplined, regimented, like they were on time most of the time to their trainings and stuff like that, because they start at school. You know, they get these habits from a really young age, wrestling or doing combat sambo or something like that, and then they go to school and then they train again after school. So it's like things that are like chiseled into them in their developmental years, you know. So
and I think that you're the sixth. So last week we had a doctor on and he said discipline as well for this, and he said and so like that's actually a really good. Yeah, that's two people in a row who have said about discipline.
I think the kids could be pushed, you know, harder. I feel like it's getting easier and easier for them. You know, just by some of the ones I see coming up in the fight world or like this sport. I feel like it could definitely be harder. I mean, like I didn't have it very hard, in my opinion. Like I would train in the morning, go to school, not train that hard, run or something. Then I'd go to school, and then I'd go to rugby, and then I'd go to kickboxing. I'd get home at 9 o'clock every night. Still go to school, and then I'd work a couple of nights in a restaurant during the week as well till late. I don't think that was very hard though, compared to like some of the stories and stuff I've heard from, you know, my people that I've met and mates that I've met from around the world.
I think that's what it is. It's like that because you always hear, like we're talking about fighting, like you always hear about that fight story of like the underdog or like the person who's gone through it all, or like you know, like that hardship. Like, that's why I'm saying about like the challenge and the change and the accountability. Like the more you go through challenge, the more that's going to make you more ready for like the next step. But I think because I also seen another post the other day, and like someone said about resilience. Why are we teaching resilience whenever like it should just be the world? Whenever we should be creating a world that's not needing the resilience. No. I don't think we can ever have a world that doesn't need it. And I think for me, what it taught me for fighting was like it made me so much more know myself, if that makes sense. Like the more I was actually putting myself in there, the more I was able to like have myself stronger. Like I didn't have the weakness. Like I was obviously like when I had my concussion, I was just a complete mess. But it helped me even then to be like, what's going on for me? And if you can come
Makes you
through,
take it deep, look at yourself. Your soul comes out of your body and you just stare at it.
What's it like being in the cage with that? Like obviously like that was like a small little like Winter Warrior thing that I was doing. Like you having to get in the cage of like you say, like someone who trains who's at the peak. You have to really look at yourself and like how do you deal with that? What's like, because that's a really good takeaway in that space.
I think you fighting, like when you start fighting internationally, you've really got to take a look at yourself and ask whether you want it, because it's a lot of work to go over there, and like a lot of people's time that you use when you go away and fight and take them with you, and you're not making shit all money at the start, you know. So you're gonna live like a bum, you know, for quite a long time. So yeah, you definitely you can work a job in New Zealand and fight professionally here, and sometimes in Aussie, maybe occasionally in China, and you will probably never have to ask yourself that, right? Because you're always coming home to something, back to work, back to your mates to hang out with, had your one fight or something, a couple of fights a year. But like when you are coming home and you lose half your money if you lose, and you got to come home and give the money to your family, you're like, fuck. You got to like be like, man, do I really want to do this? And yeah. And then like, you know, that person across there wants to, you know, do exactly the same thing. So yeah, you ask yourself that, and then if you still want to, then it's like about why are you doing it? Like, you're doing it because you enjoy fighting, or you're chasing money. And yeah, there's like, I mean, there's a lot of shit you can spin off to, and you know, and off that question about fighting. But yeah, you gotta love being in there. Yeah, you gotta love being in there, and like you gotta be excited. I always get excited when I look across at the other guy, and they think they're gonna beat me. I'm like, oh yeah, man. Like I get real excited about that. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I used to get nervous when I fought, you know, earlier in my career, but now I just get excited. And then yeah, if the fight's kind of average and I don't feel like they're not on my level, I kind of lose the excitement. That's what sucks. But yeah, if I feel like in the UFC, I'm always excited.
I think it goes back to that accountability piece. Is like the more that you've gone into like that kind of space, like the nerves do obviously, because like even me with this space, like I used to like hate talking in front of people and be like, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? But now it's come like a lot more natural because I'm in the pit, I'm in there all the time, trying to like grow and grow and grow. And I think that's why like I'm passionate about this challenge yourself piece. It's because obviously if there wasn't a world that we needed resilience, of course that would be so much better, like a better world where like it's nice. That's not the world. Like that's not the world we're actually in. And I think like if
Probably
we need
never
to
be like that.
no. And I think like if we're trying to prepare our kids or like prepare ourselves for like our future and go forward, then it's really important to have like the challenge aspect and like the growth
100%.
piece too.
Life shits on you many times. many times, you know, like, and you've got to, if you have no resilience, like, you know, you need it. You need it for all sorts of like instances. I imagine if you had no one to turn to if you muck up, you know, when you get shat on. Have you got no parents to dig you out of a hole, or, you know, maybe, you know, no one to help you? Like, you need resilience because you've only got yourself to get through it.
And I think even if you did have the people, you still need it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, which is why, like, you know, wrestling, you only got yourself in there. You know, and it's not like it's fighting or anything. You're not promoting fighting. Yeah, it's like one of the world's oldest sports.
It's discipline. That's what I like about it, is like the fighting part. Like I said at the very, very start, the idea what I thought fighting was versus what I now think it is a completely different sphere. Like it's all about the mind game. It's about you getting yourself, and you're accountable for yourself. And of course there is the fighting element. Of course there is that space as well. But like it is actually about discipline and the fighting and like your head 100%. Game.
You have to own your body in every way. Physically, mentally, spiritually, you know, like you got to know everything about yourself if you're going to go and throw hands at someone for a living. You got to know your deepest fears, where your highest points are, when you operate the best, when you operate the worst. And then when you got to know when you feel like you're going to operate shit, and you got to try to turn it around before it happens. You know,
I love that.
you might have had a really bad fight once, and then you might go into another fight, and you're like, oh man, I got that same feeling, and you've got to quickly turn that shit around before you walk out there to fight. You know, because you can see it coming. You're like, oh, I'm either going to have a terrible performance and get really hurt, or I'm going to turn this around the next 5 minutes before I walk out. You know.
Yeah, and that goes back to the accountability piece. So I think you discipline, perseverance, and like failing isn't failure. I like those little takeaways. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks.
And this little a little shout out to our little Wump to Warrior family. There's you, but that's us just before the fight. And yes, our first Wump to Warrior, we were the OG Wump to Warrior people.
You were.
And so I just want to shout out to the Wump to Warrior family, because that was it was such a great, amazing, unbelievable experience. It's changed my life forever. So thank you for being involved in that. And shout out to the Wump to Warrior family. Thank you for everyone else. Like you said, it's good to have yourself to hold on to, but also like having that team and having that people who you know that you're fighting with is just such a powerful thing to have too. So so that's the end of our little session, and I'm just going to give a little shout out to our the subscribing. So if you would like to find out more about 24 sensory skills, and you can subscribe onto Empathetic Educators.
Subscribe.
And I've also put the link for our chat that's happening this Sunday. There's 3 more announcing coming up on Sunday. They're coming to chat to Richard Gerver, and they'll be coming on this week on Sunday. So I've put your link into your talking about subscribe, put link to your YouTube channel into the bio in this space as well, so people can find out more about your journey and your fight space and on that too. So I am so grateful to have you on board, and you've been part of a big journey for me for Wump to Warrior. So thank you for letting us know. And that's the end of the session. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.